Aloha and welcome to Public Image Training. Today we're going to learn how to record video on your smartphone. My name is Ryan Kawamoto and I'll be your instructor for the session today. All right, let's check it out. First, we're going to go over some equipment and technical tips for today. Now, in today's modern world, the best camera is the one that you have with you. Always remember this. Whenever you're out doing a service project or have a Rotary function, the best camera is the one you have with you, which in most instances will be your smartphone. And in today's demo, we're going to actually be using an iPhone because that's a very common device that most of you have out there. So we're going to go over some of those settings, but a lot of these techniques will translate to other types of smartphones that you can have on the market. Okay, first of all, we're going to go over what settings you should be using to record in, the minimum settings. And what I am recommending is 1080p 30 FPS. I know it sounds like a whole bunch of technical mumbo jumbo, but this is basic HD that we're going to have you guys record all your videos in on your smartphone. And I'm going to run through how you should set that up. Basic knowledge is if it's set up properly on your smartphone, like this iPhone here, you'll see in the corner, it's just 30. That stands for frames per second. And HD is the 1080p setting. So let's take a look at this demo video on how to set it up. You can simply touch that, change that to HD and 30. Pretty easy, right? All right, you can go ahead and try this on your own phones as well and to see if you can get these same settings. Now, you can also record in the 4K setting as well, but if you're uploading sometimes to the internet, it may be a little slow. Sometimes in some of the editing software, it might run a little slow as well. So I'm recommending that you can just do it in this HD setting. That should be good enough for what we're doing, okay? Now, a couple of things. I would say shoot horizontally, shoot it in a horizontal format. If you are going to shoot vertical, maybe you might want to do that if you're going to do an Instagram reel, then that's okay. In general, you want to keep the camera level and you want to keep the camera stable. I mean, nobody wants to see like a shaky camera. So consider a tripod. Here's an example of a setup that you can use. Okay, you can see a little tripod with a little mount over there. You can get these little phone mounts that you can attach to any kind of consumer tripod. You can get those on Amazon. They're basically like $9 to $10. Okay, and you can get a very basic tripod anywhere from $20 to $25 as well. Just keep it stable. Okay, now you definitely want to record the best audio possible. I recommend that you use an external microphone, especially when you're out in the field doing service projects, or if you want to interview somebody for your videos. Here's an example of something I recommend. This one here is called a Deity D4 mini mic, and it's only $50 on Amazon. And you see here, it can plug directly into your smartphone. It also has a little cold shoe adapter, which can attach to your little iPhone mount that you can see in this picture here. You're also going to need a special connector because as you know, on the modern day phones, it has that iPhone connector, and the microphone has a different type of output. So you need this TRRS connector or adapter. You can see it right here in the white, and it hooks up to the microphone there. So that's definitely something you can use. Now, this particular mic I like because it comes with a dead cat. You see that furry Chewbacca looking thing on top of it. And what that is it blocks the noise, the wind noise, with the rustling, blowing wind when it's coming at you outside. So very useful, especially when you're doing your outdoor service projects. And it comes with this microphone. Let's say you're doing some interviews, or you're doing a sit-down interview, or just getting a couple of statements from people. Well, another thing that you can do is you can use like a wired lavalier clip-on microphone. You've seen these before on the news or at lectures, and you can get one for about $19 on Amazon. This particular one is from Boya. Of course, this may seem really basic, but do remember to hit the red record button. It's usually the red round circle. And of course, make sure you're in video mode. One tip I always like to tell people when they're out there recording video, no matter what it is, what you're doing it for, even if it's a rotary or not, is to always double check that you recorded what you think you recorded, because it's so easy to not press that little red button or to think that you pressed that red button to record. So always check to make sure that you record what you think you recorded. I'm going to emphasize that. Another thing that can often get frustrating, especially if you're going to be using your smartphone to record video of a service project or event, is you might want to make sure that you have space on your phone. A lot of us fill it up with music, or we don't necessarily have the biggest storage space on your phone, and you fill it up with stuff from 5 years ago, and you run out of space when you're recording vital video. So just kind of go and make sure that you have space on your phone. Very important. And throw away all that stuff you don't need. Okay, let's go over some best video practices for recording video on your smartphone. Now, one of the things that I always like to tell people who are learning how to shoot video is to capture your project or event or story from a variety of angles. Just don't put the camera here for the entire time and just get one angle and one type of shot. And I'm going to go over what those types of shots are. Now, whenever you're at a project or event and you're trying to capture it, I always say action shots are the best. Show people doing, not talking. I mean, we're people of action, right? So let's show us doing things, not just people standing around and waiting for the event to start or socializing after the event, which is great. You want to actually get those action shots. Get in there, people digging the dirt, doing the work, working with the kids, all those sort of fun things. So here are some of those basic shots that will really help you. And you really need to get all of these different types of shots when you're recording something. So keep this in mind. Now, first off, we all know this one. This is the wide shot, or sometimes called the establishing shot. And we definitely always need to get a couple of these because it shows the context of where you are, right? So in this particular example, you can see we're doing a service project, and it's some kind of planting project. And because we're able to do the wide shot like this, we can see, oh, it's a group of people working on this project. And we can kind of see like, hey, it's in some sort of forest or marsh area, and we can see they're all doing something on the plastic. So you definitely need to get some wide shots, shows the context of where you are. But you can't have a video that's only wide shots because that does not work. You need to get a variety of shots. And here's the next one you should get. Okay, the next one is like a medium shot. And generally it's defined as, a head to waist type of shot. Here you can see a little bit more about what people are doing. You can capture a little bit more of the expressions of people, which are very, very important. And you still get a context of where people are, but you can get in there a little closer and kind of see really what's going on in some of the finer details. So very important to get the medium shot. Now, you must always, always, always get a close-up. This really helps show the details. Here's an example of someone planting a seedling in the ground, right? And it works very, very effectively as a close-up. If someone is doing a physical activity, I always say, always show hands and the close-up of the hands doing that activity. But likewise, you need to get this type of close-up too. Close-up of a face. And you should always get close-up of faces. It conveys emotion, and it really, really helps tell that story of what's going on. Especially, get those smiles, get those people working, especially when you're doing things with kids like this. I mean, look at that, look at that. It says a whole lot just by getting that close-up. Sometimes you can't always capture this in a wide shot or a medium shot. So I always say, always get close-up of faces and get lots and lots of close-ups of faces. And one thing I always like to say is always get a group shot at an event or a service project. I mean, that's really cool to see everybody that participated, all the partners in the project, everybody that was there. Only takes 2 minutes to do it. Always get a group shot. It's always a great thing to end with or start with. It's even cool if you get some audio in there too, instead of just doing a still, have them say something, right? Isn't that great? Another thing you can do when you're at an event or service project is, consider getting a short soundbite or statement from the project leaders, the partners, and the participants. I'm going to cover this topic in a future video, but just throwing it out there for you right now as something to think about. Also, hey, it's okay to shoot a lot. As a professional, one of my editor friends has always told me over the years, you can't edit what you didn't shoot. So always go ahead, record more than you need so that you have stuff you can work with later. Okay, I'm going to show you some of the other useful tools you can use, and this is for the iPhone, but they also have these types of tools in other platforms as well, other types of smartphones. So I'm just going to show you the one for the iPhone because that's very, very common, but you can find these in other phones. Okay, the first is a tip for the rule of thirds for framing shots, and this is how to make more interesting compositions. This is a little secret in photography and videography. How can you get your shot to look a little bit more interesting, especially when it's people? Okay, so one of the things that you can do is you turn on this grid, and you can see here there's a grid. See, there's 2 lines going horizontally and 2 lines going vertically, right? See, and generally the way of the rule of thirds and how it works is if you place objects along the intersection of those lines, such as my talent here in this video shot, you can see it actually makes for a much more interesting composition. So you could put them on the right third, which is where I have them, or you could put them on the left third. And that would actually make a more interesting composition. So just a little something, because you don't always have to do shots that are dead center. Let me show you how to turn that on. So here's a little example. You go into your settings, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, down, down. Yep, keep going. Go to camera. Okay, scroll down a little bit and see the grid, composition grid. Turn that on, and that'll turn on the grid lines for you to give you a useful guide to help you out. Okay, and you can see right here, rule of thirds in action. See, rule of thirds in action. See, I've placed my subject on the intersection of the thirds. I think it's a little bit more interesting than this shot. Okay, this is not on the rule of thirds. This is not on the thirds. This is on the thirds. I think that's a better looking shot. Okay. Another thing I want to use, especially when you are recording people, is something called proper headroom. And you see this all the time actually in Zoom meetings where actually people have really, really bad headroom. An example of that is right here. You can see the image on the left has too much headroom or negative space on the top of the head. See, that's a very, very bad technique. Likewise, on the frame on the right, you see not enough headroom where we are cutting off part of the person's head. So these are 2 rules, very easy to follow. Proper headroom. What does proper headroom look like? Well, here it is. This is proper headroom. You have a little bit of negative space on the top there, see? So it'll make the image and the composition much, much more pleasant to the viewer. And you can actually take this tip and use it in Zoom as well when you're setting up your Zoom cameras. Also, you want to use something called look space. And this is if somebody is looking at something off camera or looking to the side. So you can see right here, our subject is looking off to something at the left, but we've placed him really, we have him on the third, on the left side, but it's like he's way off to the left side and you have all this negative space on the right side. So that's not really working so well. And it looks like he's looking right into the wall. So this would be a much better composition. See? So he has proper look space. He has negative space on the side to where he is looking, his left side. Well, camera left, that is. So that's just another tip to help you with some of your framing and compositions. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching this short segment on how to record video on your smartphone. I'm going to put an email address up so you can go ahead and reach me afterwards if you have any further questions. But get out there and start recording your projects and let's get them up on social media for everybody to see, all right? Okay, mahalo for watching.